From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, we're into April now, and there's still a ton of topics for us to chew on. Where do we start? With the team that drinks Hawaiian Punch, the Minnesota Timberwolves?
The pugilists.
Yes. They should start playing at the Armory where they have all those boxing matches you go to.
You're right. Jamal James has nothing on them.
Exactly. Downtown Minneapolis wants them.
Boy, oh boy, yeah. Well, they've got a puncher's chance, like they say, huh? As they kind of stumble their way to the end of the season here. I mean, man alive, you just don't give yourself much of a chance when you're beating up walls and you're beating up your own teammates, and then you get suspended, and I mean.
Yeah, if they're able to make a run in the playoffs, given what's happened,
oh Lord,
cue up the Rocky Balboa music. I mean, there'll be a movie about this.
Yeah, there's no question. This is really stumbling to the finish line. And how many times have we seen over the years the Minnesota Timberwolves self-inflict wounds?
Yeah.
And this is probably the coup de grace, right?
Yeah, this is the capper. I mean, when you have a sideline Donnybrook with Rudy G and Kyle Anderson, and then you have a guy in Jaden McDaniels who can defend just about anybody in the NBA, but he takes himself out with an errant punch into a tarp that has concrete behind it.
Yeah, and he's having a career season, by the way. 12-plus points per game on the season. It really his best season as a pro, and they're going to miss him. And Naz Reid is out, and I tell you, man, they sure know how to make things difficult on themselves. There's no question about that. And, we saw them play for 4 months, basically, without Karl Anthony Towns. And just when you get him back, then, Naz Reid goes down. And then you get Rudy punching Kyle Anderson. And then you get Jaden McDaniels punching the wall. And Jordan McLaughlin really hasn't been the same player since he came back from injury. So if they can somehow, some way, make it through this week, I guess you don't know. But I don't really give them much of a chance against Denver or Memphis. I don't really see it, to be honest with you. But stranger things have happened. They have lost a lot of games that they should have won this year, and they have won some games that I thought they had no chance of winning.
Yeah, absolutely. They are a roller coaster. I'll say this. They're young and bold and brash and at times very foolish, as we've found out. But that's a dangerous combination when you get into the postseason. They'll be playing with house money. Nobody's going to be betting on the Timberwolves.
Nor should they.
They do have the potential to maybe get hot and go on a run. But with the losses you laid out, I mean, Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels, those are huge. If you had all hands on deck, I think they could play with Denver. They proved they could play with Memphis last season in the playoffs.
Right.
But the a best of 7, not likely.
Yeah, it's going to wear them down.
Yeah.
If nothing else, they're going to get worn down. So where does this rank on your list of all-time punching incidents in pro sports?
Wow,
it's got to be right up there.
Yeah, this is a good one. My favorite, too, I go back to when I was a little kid watching the old NBC Game of the Week. It's New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox at Fenway. Yeah. Reggie Jackson in right field, and he didn't go hard after a ball that went through him. And Billy Martin yanked him in the middle of the inning, which was a major show-up. He was embarrassing Reggie on NBC. Reggie runs into the dugout, goes after Billy Martin, and Elston Howard had to separate the two. Yep. That was great theater, and it involved the Yankees. The other one was Sunday Night Football, the old Houston Oilers. And they had Buddy Ryan, who was, a guy who could go ballistic at any moment, right? The defensive coordinator. He punched the OC, Kevin Gilbride, because he didn't like the way he was calling plays on the sideline on national TV. Those are my top 2, but I think Rudy G's got to be up there with Kyle Anderson.
I think it's right there. I think that the thing that escalates it even more is that McDaniels punched the wall, too, in the same game. I mean, that makes the game itself one of the top of all time. Let's not forget that, now, there no punches were thrown, but verbal barbs between, as recently as Kirk Cousins and Zim, right? Mike Zimmer, I mean, that's not that unusual to see heated exchanges. that's
No,
for
Randy
sure.
Moss and Chris Carter used to get into it on
yeah.
the sidelines, and people would, get all bent out of shape. And I would say, listen, calm down. These guys are around each other so much. They're like brothers. You get in arguments with your family members. I mean, they spend more time with, in the locker room, on the buses, on the planes,
Right.
on the fields than they do with their family. So stuff's going to happen. But it's up to the head coach, in this case, Chris Finch, to make sure it doesn't get out of hand, and it did.
One other baseball one. Don't forget Gladden and Labo. Although that wasn't
that's right, yeah.
that wasn't on the field. That was on the front porch.
That's right. And if I'm not mistaken, Billy Martin punched out Dave Boswell in a bar, the old Twins skipper.
Oh, Lord.
Billy Martin got into a lot of them.
Yes, he did. Wonder why.
All right, well, stick around. We'll talk some more baseball with Joe Nathan, all-time Twins closer, coming up here on 10K Takes, your Haymaker ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10,000 takes, Wally and Eric, and we're going to talk some baseball now, some Minnesota Twins baseball, and we're joined now by former Minnesota Twin, their all-time leading closer. There he is, Joe Nathan. Joe, welcome to the show. And I guess question number one out of the box, your thoughts on what you've seen so far, not just from the Twins, but baseball in general with the rules changes, particularly the pitch clock.
Yeah, when they first were bringing all this up, definitely I think question marks, wondering how it was going to play out. Some of the quirky things like, the pick over, seeing how that was going to work. My first thought was, well, they're trying to speed this game up. Will promoting more stolen bases speed a game up and take away more double plays? So, to me, it seems like a double play would speed up more games. But, at the same time, I got to say, I've kind of enjoyed the clock. I feel like the game has moved along. There's been better rhythm to ball games, having watched some of them when I can. I do feel like the pace has improved. And, I think there's been way more positive feedbacks coming back from fans, from players. I think there's been more positives than there has been negatives.
Joe, MLB can't be the NBA, the NHL, MLS, or NFL. Those are fast-paced sports. But do you think they've found the sweet spot? As you said, they've quickened the pace, and some of that downtime now is eliminated.
Yeah, I think there's going to be adjustments still that I think they're going to have to go back and kind of figure out, what didn't work and what did. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good start to what they're looking for. They wanted to create more action, show the athleticism. I'm a big fan, to be honest. I like that they did what they did with the shift. I think it just brings back more old school baseball. I think, maybe bring back a little bit of the small ball, the stolen bases, maybe some more bunting, hitting behind runners, where before it was a lot of punch outs and a lot of home runs. I think most of us can agree that tends to get stale. As much as you think home runs won't, I think the action part of the game was missed, and I think they're hitting it pretty good right now, and you're seeing more true baseball, more of the old school style baseball that we saw back in the 70s, 80s, early 90s.
One thing that one of your former teammates pointed out, Justin Morneau, on a telecast I was watching recently, it was a well-pitched game, and it was going to end up going into extra innings. And he said, why do we need a gimmick after 9 innings of baseball where we had such a well-pitched game and now you got to stick a guy on second base? And I like what Justin said. And on top of that, I would say we're already moving the pace of the game along with the pitch clock. I don't necessarily think that's necessary to have that in as well. What are your thoughts on the ghost runner, so to speak?
Well, I mean, I guess we could play both sides of this. I understand that part of it. Where you want to see what team can kind of survive and get through the good pitching and try and manufacture a run to win a ball game. If it takes, 17, 18 innings, so be it. Then there's the other side, and I think it's those 17-inning games, 20-inning games that absolutely destroy a team for, a week later or 2 weeks later. You're trying to get your pitching staff back in order. Those are the games you're having to bring a starter in that's supposed to start in 2 days, but he's going to have to come in and maybe throw 2 or 3 innings, and then he's going to be down. You got to call somebody up. I also see the benefit of, putting somebody out there and let's try to get this game done in 10 to 13 innings and move on and don't kill a team for the next week or two.
Joe, we've had Al Newman on this show many times. He played in a different era than you did for Tom Kelly. But
Yeah.
he said TK's rule back in the day was no days off at home for guys like Kent Herbeck, Kirby Puckett, Gary Gaetti, the stars of the team. Your days off will come on the road. Already this season, Carlos Correa has missed 2 home games for the Twins. One on a Sunday against his old team, Houston, Monday against the Chicago White Sox.
And Buxton.
And Byron Buxton's had time off as well, and he's been playing DH. This baffles me. These are elite athletes who should be able to go most of the time. Where do you land on this?
I agree totally with they should be playing when you're home. That's if you're healthy and you're, obviously with Byron, you gotta kind of follow him and be careful. Keeping him around for a full season is definitely more beneficial than not. But at the same time, you're at home, you're playing in front of your home crowd, and you feel like you can go. That's the time, to grind and get through it and play in front of your home crowd, especially when you're playing against your former team. It should be exciting to do that. Playing against the bigger teams like Boston and stuff like that, you should be able to get out there, especially in front of your home crowd. Like I said, there's going to be plenty of times to get that day off on the road, preferably probably a day off on the road before an off day, so you get 2 days off. That way you're refreshing your body and getting things ready, 3 days later. So I'm a big believer with that as well. I think I'm hand in hand with Tom Kelly and those guys as far as that old school. Let's play at home for sure.
And oh, by the way, they lost both of those games. All right. The bright side for the Twins so far clearly has been their starting pitching. They're struggling at the plate early on, but their starting pitching has come out of the gates very fast. What do you like of what you have seen, and what should we be concerned about?
To be honest, I love the way they're throwing the baseball. They're throwing it over the plate. Guys have outstanding stuff. I think they're in attack mode. Their confidence has got to be high, which is half the battle right there. So as far as their pitching staff, I think they're in a good place. And with this game, it's going to be all about staying healthy and trying to get as many guys, as many starts as they can make. And staying on the mound, and that's usually the key with any staff, especially the starters, trying to get them out for, 30 starts. And, if, you're going to need a 6th guy or a 7th guy at times with the long season. But at the same time, if you can keep them feeling good and their mentality is where it is, they're in a good place right now. It's a good start. Obviously, it's early in the year. April, they always say you can't win it in April, but you can lose it. So I think this is an excellent start for them to come out and and have some feel good moments and know they can grind through some starts. So it's a positive so far.
Joe, the Tampa Bay Rays are off to a blazing start. They play in a bad ballpark, not necessarily a baseball-hungry market in Tampa, St. Pete. They play budget ball with an extremely low payroll, yet they win year in and year out in a high payroll division, the AL East. Is there any earthly explanation for why this organization keeps excelling?
I guess, I mean, there really isn't, to be honest. I could say maybe that ballpark just gives them that advantage. I feel like kind of when we were in the Dome, we were a team that was never picked to be up at the top of the division, but we always found a way to play well, especially at home. And maybe they're the same way where they're really confident, especially when they're in their ballpark. And that edge that they have, they feel like they just can't lose there. So for me, I think they're just a confident organization in that they believe in themselves. They believe in what they're doing. They got some young studs on that team. And you put a guy out there that's confident, I'll bet on him all day over the guys with the winning on paper team.
You talked about the starting staff for the Twins and how they've been going deeper into games and how important that is actually for your bullpen. And so far, they have gotten that. Sonny Gray has gone 6+. Kenta Maeda, even in a loss, ended up going 6. And I think that, something that the Twins didn't do last year is coming to fruition here. Get these guys deep into games to save that bullpen so that you don't have to run 4 or 5 guys out there every night. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we probably touched on this and in previous segments that we've done that it's really something to get away from just believing that you have to get the starter out when it's third time through the lineup. Sometimes that starter's having a good day and they just can't pick him up. Let him roll. Because, like I said, the less guys you bring out of the pen, less likely you're going to run into a guy that has an off day. And the more times you run more guys out there, somebody's going to be off. And that other team's going to find that guy that's off that day, and that can ultimately kill you. So if you're running the bullpen out there in the 5th, 6th inning every day and sending 4 or 5 guys out there, the likelihood that you're going to find somebody that isn't going to have it is extremely high. So for these guys to go 6+ innings and allow the bullpen to only run 2 or 3 guys out there, not only helps you with the likelihood that they may get through this game and have success, but then we get into the second half of the year and you're going to have fresh guys out there.
Joe, here's the hardball question, the fastball. What do you think of the new uniforms, the new logo? I mean, the Twins are, they're trying to be sharp and hip with these new duds.
The one thing I loved the uniforms. When I first saw them, I was like, uniforms look awesome. The one thing I had to get used to was the M.
Yeah, I agree.
I could not wrap my head around it because I was so used to the old school, the classic. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm still trying to get used to it. It's still something that I'm trying to look at. And every time I look at it, I'm like, wait, oh, shoot, this is the Twins. All right, I got it. So we're still working on it.
It's not the Marlins you're watching, even though it kind of looks like a Marlins hat.
That's a North Star on top of the M.
We think.
Yeah.
Joe, thanks. Appreciate the time. And, of course, we'll be checking in with you again soon.
A pleasure, as always.
All right.
Thanks, Joe.
He is Joe Nathan, Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame. He is one of the great relievers in Twins history. Back with more after this timeout. Stay with us.
Taxes don't have to be taxing, not with Keller Tax Service. For over 20 years, Linda Keller has prepared taxes for all types of professions and businesses. She has perfected the virtual tax appointment through phone or video. With Keller Tax Service, you never leave home. Call Keller Tax Service at 320-352-0013 or check out Keller Tax Service online at kellertaxservice.com. Take the anxiety out of taxes with Keller Tax Service at kellertaxservice.com.
10,000 takes, and your Minnesota Wild headed towards the postseason. Not exactly where they wanted to be. They wanted to win this division so they'd get a more favorable matchup in the postseason. But they're in. We know that. And, you know, they'll look. Last year they had home ice against St. Louis, and it didn't do them any good. I mean, they ended up losing the series. So whether or not they have home ice, I think that that's immaterial. I think that it's the matchup that is the more important thing.
Right.
And, you know, they're going to end up with Colorado or Dallas, depending on how things shake out here over the next couple days.
And some similarities to a year ago when they saw St. Louis, a team within the division, and, you know, there's not much separation in talent. Now, St. Louis had owned the Wild. You know, the Wild were, you know, just a team that could not get over that Blues hump. Blues have gone down this season. You know, Dallas and Colorado, Minnesota has competed with them this year. But I think if you try to beat the Avalanche, the Stanley Cup champs, in a best of 7, you know, that's going to be a tall task for Minnesota to get by Colorado. And Dallas has been very good all season. So the Wild are on this playoff treadmill. I mean, they're good at getting into the postseason, but then they get to round 1 or maybe round 2, and it's exit stage right. They need to go on a run, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they have had a really good regular season, much like last year. They had a really good regular season last year, but petered out immediately, as you pointed out. Speaking of petering out, boy, it's a Minnesota tradition here, isn't it? Your Golden Gophers on ice. You know, you got a 2-goal lead heading into the third period of the national championship game. You have a 1-goal lead with 2:47 to go, and you give up that tying goal. So now it's tied. You go into overtime, and boy, that didn't last very long. Blink of an eye, 10 seconds in, and it's over, and another Minnesota team goes down in a championship.
It wasn't even a Minnesota minute.
No.
Yeah, 10 seconds, as you said. And how do you not close it out? Knowing you're up 2-0 going into the third, you're the top-ranked team in college hockey, Quinnipiac, and give them credit. They're the champs. But they had never won a title in school history.
No, they have now.
Yeah, yes, they have at the expense of Minnesota. And it's there's no way to sugarcoat it. I've said all along, the Gophers got to come back with the trophy. They did not. Now, the only good news is Dinkytown's still standing. There were no riots. Nobody had to get upset and burn the university down because there was no reason to, unless they were teed off.
All right. So the bad news is they're losing a boatload of guys. Matthew Nees is already gone. He signed with the Blues. I was looking at that, or with the Maple Leafs. I was looking at the list of guys that were signing. I was like, I was getting one email and one press release after the next, the day after the championship. I'm thinking, holy Toledo.
Brock Faber with the Wild.
Brock Faber with the Wild.
And that's another example of how do you not win it when you have assembled that kind of top-tier talent and you don't come away with the parade and the confetti shower.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a whole new team next year. And college sports is very fluid right now because of the NIL and because of different things. But this was the Gophers' chance. This was their year. This was the year that they should have won it.
So this is a question we've been asking for decades. Is there a Minnesota male team on the horizon that can win a championship? Now, the Lynx will be starting up soon. Maybe they'll get another WNBA championship.
They're not the male team.
But the guys, they can't deliver.
No, they can't finish. Let's put it that way.
No.
All right. Well, we're going to finish after one more break. We'll come back with Takes of the Day right here on 10,000 Takes, your Golden Gopher ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
"10K Takes" on television, another episode just about ready to be wrapped up. But before we do, we'll have takes of the day and a few more observations. Let's start with the Minnesota Lynx. They had that WNBA draft on Monday night, and the Lynx with the number 2 selection get Diamond Miller out of Maryland. So hopefully she will be able to step in and contribute right away.
Yeah, well, look, they had a pretty good year last year. They've lost some people over the years, and they've got some championships under their belt. Can Cheryl Reeve bring them back to that level? We're going to find out.
Yeah, well, they'll be traveling a little better. Charter flights for any back-to-back games in the WNBA. The season's now going to be 40 games, so they're going to stretch it out a bit. And every playoff game will be on a charter flight because the commercial travel has been a bone of contention for the WNBA PA.
Okay. I know you didn't make it out for opening day for the Twins, but you were there over the weekend. Any thoughts on what you saw at Tarjay Field?
Well, I like the ginormous Jumbotron that I've learned is the 6th largest in MLB. We can't be number 1 in anything in Minnesota. So we're number 6 when it comes to video boards.
Surprised we're not number 2.
I know, that's because the Gopher video board for football, I believe, is number 2, or it was. But I do like it's enough. And the smaller board in right field is great. I like the twin spin, that rotating TC ball on the tower in right field. I know you didn't even notice it.
No.
I was fixated on it. I just got to tell you, just being at the ballpark, especially when the weather's good, I don't care who wins or loses. It's just a great escape from real life.
Can they turn the music down?
Oh, my goodness. It's Minnesota Vikings-like.
That's terrible.
And then I went to the Timberwolves after the Twins on Sunday. Same thing. I'm okay with music. I like the vibe. Just bring that volume down some.
Forget it. All right. I believe we have takes of the day now, right?
We do. Let's find out what your mood is. Right. Angry American, cranky Yankee, demanding diva, soggy cornflake. What is it?
Soggy cornflake. Well, October 10th, 2022. Do you know what that date meant?
Let's see. The Minnesota Vikings won a 1-score football game.
Well, they did a lot of that. And it could have been the last time we saw the sunshine until this past week.
Or leaves on the trees.
Yeah, or leaves on the trees, yes. No, that was the day that the Minnesota Twins jettisoned a guy by the name of Michael Salazar. He was their head trainer through the season of 2022, and they went, get out of here. We had too many injuries. So how is 2023 faring for the new trainer, a guy by the name of Nick Paparesta? Okay, let's go down the list and see how things have been going so far here. Let's start out with Carlos Correa. Has already missed a couple of games with some back soreness. Max Kepler's been out, well, a long time now with a knee injury. Joey Gallo's been sitting out for some injury to his side or some soreness to his side. And, of course, we got a baby Byron Buxton along. He hasn't played in the outfield, won't. He's already missed 1 or 2 games just sitting the bench. I'd say Nick right about now gets about a C-.
Oh, boy. Yeah, not a team chock full of Cal Ripkins. We'll leave it at that. Let's see what the mood meter says. Demanding diva. You want to see your athletes on the field. And I'm sure a lot of Twins fans do, too.
Yeah, well, try showing up on a Sunday and, no Carlos Correa.
I saw it on Easter Sunday. Or a big goose egg.
Yeah.
Or Easter egg.
You got a big Easter egg.
Okay, well, my take of the day, I'm going to throw some shade on the Minnesota Timberwolves. I know it's easy to do.
Oh, boy, that's an easy
So Rudy G gets the 1-game suspension after throwing the haymaker at Kyle Anderson. It's been played on a visual loop forever and a day since Sunday. I'm going to say that the T-Wolves whiffed. You mortgaged the farm for this guy. Why suspend him? Just hit him where it counts, and that's in the bank account. He makes over $38 million per season. Whack him good, make him pay up, lock him in a room with Kyle Anderson, let him solve their differences and move on. Because you're playing the LA Lakers in the play-in game, most important game of the season to date, and then you're either going to be in another play-in or you're in the postseason. I don't care about the optics or the look. This is the Timberwolves. You got to give your fan base something to be happy about. And Rudy G's not going to be in LA. I would have just fined him and gotten over it quickly.
I agree.
And on that note, we got to go. Let's FedEx out our thank yous. One to David Weld, one to Rocky, one to Joe Nathan. For Wally, I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.